don't need it.
So much easier.
Your recorder's going?
Yes.
It is.
Very good. First of all, I just want to announce to I think all of you regulars that the meeting is being recorded, and that means that it will be posted on the YouTube channel, and whatever you say in this meeting will be subject to public record. There's no read for a public hearing, no old items discussion that I'm aware of, unless either of the commissioners have something to raise in their old business. Okay. New items, Commissioner.
No.
Commissioner Eggleston, you wanted to talk about carports?
So the carport bit I'm not completely ready to discuss because I still have some things to go over with Matt, but the general idea is to have a discussion about finding a way to fund or purchase carports for the DAV drivers. They moved their office at our request on behalf of the Rouse very nicely. They've moved up to the state hospital grounds, and they have a place there now. They have no rent. They offered it to them. They have a nice office on the side. They seem to like it up there. Their vehicles were being stored during the winter in a space that prevented them from getting covered with snow. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the drivers themselves, many of them are seniors and you know, are doing it for volunteer purposes, and so their goal is to, you know, have the vehicles snow free so that they don't have to shovel through, you know, tons of snow just to get the vehicles out. And I guess at this time I'm just asking for everybody to just keep it in the back of their head to consider it. I still have to have a conversation a final conversation with the director at the state hospital, because basically they're going to regrade a whole section of where the vehicles are parked, and they're doing a bunch of work there for the DAV. And what I'm going to do is ask them that as a part of that, if they would mind if we did something for them in order to allow their vehicles to be covered during the winter so that they're snow free. And I think that's a nice thing that we can do for them. And again, these people are doing this entirely voluntarily, driving veterans to their medical appointments, which are in Erie and all kinds of different places. And so I think that, and especially, I know several of them, and they're you know, older veterans themselves, some of them, and you know, they wouldn't be able to do the job, I think, if they had to shovel, you know, several feet of snow off of a car, if it's sitting there for any length of time. So that's just something I wanted to throw out there as a consideration. The second item, which I'm finalizing today, and I should have for you within the next couple hours once we get done with all these meetings, is a resolution in support of the north-south corridor, which I have a copy. I should have made more copies of this, and I'll hand this out in future meetings. I'll have this available on Wednesday. Basically, last year the Northwest Commission, through the Rural Planning Organization, put together a freight study that was highlighted in a variety of different places that had put together a ton of information on freight in the region, and had found, surprisingly, that Warren County actually leads the region in freight and is competitive in the state in the amount of freight that it puts out, in the top 20%. And as a result, that kind of sparked the conversation of infrastructure investment in the region and seeing what we can do to have a discussion about it. There are several items that were already on the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Plan, related to Route 62, Route 8, Route 6, and a number of other things, you know, related to the impact of freight. One of the things that we tried to do last year was to carry the study around to as many places as we could in order to have a discussion about what we could do to get increased investment. One of the things that people have talked about often in Warren County over the past 30 or 40 years is having a connector to a major interstate, you know, and having another artery to the main highway infrastructure. So that was kind of a focal point initially, and through that process, we dug up an old plan that actually Dan Glotz was associated with and a number of other people about 15 years ago, where the representative at the time, Jim Lynch, had initiated conversation with Chautauqua County and the upstate New York area in order to have a discussion about making a major connector up to 86 and then even beyond towards Buffalo through Gary, New York. And that plan was, very rough, but it was a plan, and they had done some rough estimates on the cost of putting something like that together. And so we essentially dusted that plan off and then started taking it around and talking to different people about, what we could do to make it more of a reality. And this was also at the time that the commissioners were going down to Washington, D.C. to meet with the intergovernmental team of the Trump administration. And they were even then talking about an infrastructure package, a federal infrastructure package. So it seemed like a good time to try to put something together to promote this, to talk about it, and to see what we could do to get, incorporated into a plan. Since then, we've had meetings with a variety of different representatives, both on the phone and in person. We've met with Congressman Thompson about it, Congressman Reed in New York State, the representatives in New York, and a number of others. Obviously, the bulk of the work would happen on the New York side, so that's an important piece of the equation. And basically what happened is every discussion we had was that we needed to really organize locally in order to work our way up through the levels of government, that really we needed to get things organized locally, get plans organized locally, and then advocate for them, at the higher levels. So we started meeting with Chautauqua County and the planning director there, and the county executive, who was on his way out of office at the time that we met with him. He was retiring, but everybody in Chautauqua County was very excited about the concept, the project, and so when the new administration came in Chautauqua, we got a meeting with them recently, and then sat down and had a conversation with the new team in Chautauqua. Obviously, there are a lot of things that are going on in Chautauqua, different investments that Albany is making, and so they're very interested in having as much connectivity as possible as well. So essentially, we went up and we ended up meeting with George Borello, who is the county executive, and his team. And they are, George Borello, the county executive, is going to be coming down to Warren County on Wednesday for our public meeting in order to speak on behalf of the project. And they were very happy with the conversation that we had, and just in general to discuss how Chautauqua County and Warren County can collaborate and work together in a variety of things. But basically, the fundamental thing, at least initially, is to start putting together letters of support and start having discussions on both sides of the state line about what we can do to figure out ways to fund basically a I don't like using the term feasibility study because it's more of a planning study, but a feasibility study to judge the level of traffic on Route 62 and Route 60, what the current state of the roads are, what all of the various amenities in the region are, what the business structure is like, in order to plan for and justify a major investment in 62 and 60, which would basically get people in Warren County a very straight shot to 86, but then also to have a very straight shot to 90 and to Buffalo. Because the structures of the two governments are different, that's part of the reason that we have to have a lot of conversations about local government. Here, obviously, you have 3 commissioners and a county government, and so it's not that hard for us to support different initiatives and to put different proposals together. At the same time, on this side, we have the RPO and the Northwest Commission and the TAC, which is the Transportation Advisory Committee, which basically every infrastructure investment has to go through those bodies and be deliberated in order to be made. Whereas on the New York side, they have a county executive and then a county board. And the county executive has a lot more leeway in order to do different things there, but at the same time, they don't have any regional transportation organization. Everything goes through Albany, so it depends on their representatives advocating for different things in their state capital. And and Albany and Harrisburg, I think they get in an arm wrestling match for who's the well, I'll leave it at that. So there's a lot of things that are going on with it, but I was very pleased with the meeting that we had with the county executive, and the goal again is going to be to solicit resolutions and letters of support from local governments, and then, as I said, I'm authoring a resolution now that my fellow commissioners will have it by the end of the day to review by Wednesday. All it is a general letter of support of the concept and the project. And doesn't tie the county to any funding or any kind of other thing, but just it's something that we can then use, among other things, to take both to Albany and to Harrisburg in order to push them to get interested in the project and invest in it, whether through funding the study or in another fashion. At the very least, my hope is that if and obviously to have it be done would be wonderful, I think, but even if we can get more investment and more attention on 62, I think that that would be a good success out of the entire discussion. So does anybody have any questions about that? My hope is on Wednesday that to give the county executive time at the beginning of the meeting in order to address the body. And then also, the hope is that he'll be here early, 15 minutes beforehand, in order to have time to talk to the press if they're interested. And
we can put him right under public comment, schedule the floor immediately for 15 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know that his presentation is going to be that long, but he's just basically going to speak about the meeting and then just their general support for the project.
Sure.
They have a very good group up there, and I think that it would be nice to have a follow-up meeting where the commissioners go to Chautauqua and vice versa, and have them come down. One of the other things I wanted to say is that their group will be in contact with Commissioner Kaplan and Dan Glotz as well to talk about, all of us, I should say, about. I had a conversation with them about the freight summit that we had discussed, and they're having a business engagement set up the same way that you're having yours with the 50/50 program, where they're meeting different businesses, but they're having like a series of events where they're having the businesses come together, and we talked about having a freight summit in Chautauqua, and then inviting more businesses to go there as well, and then doing it kind of a county joint event, which I thought would be.
Yeah, that'd be good. One thing that's becoming clear as I continue on this 15/50 program is that there are some like businesses, I shouldn't even say like businesses, some businesses that have the same concerns as others. Not necessarily that I would have thought.
Mm-hmm.
So there actually might be, you might think everybody in the steel business or something has something to say about whatever steel prices and that sort of thing, and importing Chinese steel, blah, blah, blah. And all that's true, but the interesting thing is that I'm finding areas in all manufacturing where they kind of agree on something, related to HR rules or insurance or something like that. So I would actually like to, towards the end of the year, convene, once I've kind of gone and met with them individually, convene around a topic.
Mm-hmm.
Not an industry, but like a topic. So.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Once you get up on 60 or 62, as you go left or right, are they planning on doing any major road work, widening it, or?
That would be part of the discussion, and where the road goes and how it functions would be part of that discussion.
Because that's a very congested area
Yeah.
when you're going to Faulkner or.
Yeah, just to outline the two different perspectives on this project. On our side, we have 13 plus tons of freight that are moving on the road every year. The next highest is 2.5 million tons. So we're the next highest county next to us isn't producing anywhere near the amount that we are. And then below 2, I mean, most of them are averaging like a mil or a half a million tons of freight. So we're way ahead of everybody else. And there's also a study that was just recently done on hazardous chemicals traveling on 62. And the numbers there are incredibly high, and naturally a good chunk of this is the refinery, but it's also when you start looking at the concentration of businesses, you have Betts, Worley, Blair, which did their distribution center in Irvine moves a ton of freight. So for us, it's about having safe passage and quick passage for the vehicles. Another part of it for us is the transportation for commercial traffic, where you have, or I should say, shopping tourism traffic. So you have people from both sides of the state moving on 62 going north and south. You have a lot of people traveling to Buffalo and Erie and to Jamestown. And the goal again is to have a road that's efficient and safe, between those stretches. So for us, it's about it's a lot of it's about traffic. It's also about pulling people from Chautauqua down to Warren and making that transition, as quick as possible. We share a lot of workers between the two counties. On their end, a lot of it has to do with their freight traffic, because they have trucks that are moving in both directions as well, and they're having a lot of issues. And this freight issue is a really big one because all the vehicles are moving through urban areas. So you have them creating tons of traffic and then also creating a lot of pollution in both in Faulkner and in Jamestown. And so if we can figure out a way to do the road where we can sidestep some of the urban locations in order to get all of the freight traffic off of the roads and get them moving at a steady pace, that helps everybody. And then obviously for them, because tourism, especially with the opening of the comedy center, like they've just built another hotel. There's a lot of different stuff that they're doing up there that requires, or where they want people to have easy access to their amenities. So for both sides, it makes a lot of sense, I think, to have an increased connection. And I think the quicker, especially in the winter, the quicker you can get to 86 for everybody, just in general, would be beneficial. And there hasn't been any major investment in those roads in quite a while, and most of them were built in the late 60s, and since then, it's been pretty status quo. So.
Any questions for Commissioner Eggleston on the north or south corridor?
No.
Okay. Public comments? Anything you want to raise with the Board of Commissioners while you have it over? All right. Do either of the commissioners have projects that they want to give us updates on? I apologize. I've been trying to get my computer fixed so I can cast it up on the screen, and I had it down in IT for the last few days, and I still can't get it to work. So I can read them if you want, but I can't cast them. I guess one is that we're meeting with the architects to talk about the parking lot and courthouse rehab after this meeting, so that's good.
Yeah.
You just brought up the freight study. How about online GIS stuff? Where are we at on that?
That's still, basically what we're doing now is evaluating different vendors for,
Okay.
there are a lot of logistical challenges there. So, I guess a couple of things is one, we've set dates for our Human Services Summit, which will be at the very end of the month, April 30th, May 1st. Actually, it'll be April 29th and 30th, and then the 1st and 2nd. I'm going to be sending invitations to the other two commissioners to attend this event. I've been focusing on just getting the invitations out. This is a event that is being grant funded by Systems of Care, which is a coordination organization for County Human Services. This is related to another grant that was received a while ago before we became commissioners. Basically, the Systems of Care is set up to help county agencies coordinate and work together and provide streamlined services. So we feel that the grant this event is appropriate in that framework. It's basically going to take place over 3 days with a fourth evening at the beginning specifically for families, and a planning session specifically for families and their utilization of human services. The 3 days are going to be 4-hour sessions where everybody is going to come together in order to have what essentially will be a strategic planning session based on compression planning, utilizing a coordinator in order to have a discussion about human services within the county collectively, and I guess the terms would be holistically, and how everything integrates, how it collaborates, what our needs are, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and then try to address those by putting together recommendations in a report, similar to what we've been doing with some of these other organizations or other small groups. This group is going to be the largest of the type that's been done to this point. There's going to be roughly 30 people involved in it, and we're going to try to be as comprehensive as we can. So all of the different ranges of human services, including hospital, psychiatry, drug and alcohol rehab, special needs, children, seniors, the whole 9 yards. Law enforcement's going to be involved. Members of the courts have been invited. So we're going to try to hit every angle that we possibly can. I think that that's something that we'll be releasing more information on in the next couple of weeks. We've already gotten quite a few RSVPs for it. Everybody that I've talked to on the Human Services end is very excited about the opportunity. A lot of this has to do with everybody acknowledging different needs or different concerns, and that a good bit of them can be addressed by a greater level of collaboration between the agencies. So hopefully that will address that. Does anyone have any questions about that?
No questions, but do you intend to invite the Forest County Commissioners as well?
I had a conversation with people from Forest, and our intention is to have a separate Forest County specific event. And the problem is when we started talking about it, narrowing it even down to just 30 people was really difficult because there's so many people involved in the system. And if we had tacked on all the people that are specifically related to Forest County, it would just have been too much. So basically what we're going to do is get a separate grant and do a Forest County specific event, and set that up down in Forest, and then talk. Yeah, also some of the issues between the two counties are different, surprisingly.
Okay, so back to the projects then. Are you still doing a CJAP summit, or is there one? Or is that just kind of getting lumped in?
Well, no. With the CJAB, what's being done now is that we're essentially focusing on oh my gosh, my brain. The Stepping Up initiative is basically, we have a subgroup off of the CJAB that's focusing on stepping up. Okay. So Betsy Miller's put together a group of people, and we're essentially going to have a meeting and then just really focus on that aspect of it related to criminal justice and mental health and things of
Good. You're going through a lot of your stuff. The main two things that I'm working on right now, one is the co-working space, which I just finished up a presentation which I'll be doing at the WCCBI on Thursday, which it's looking really good. Really proud of how it's shaping up. So again, that's going to be a shared collaborative workspace for startup businesses, entrepreneurs, and that sort of thing. The first floor of the PNC building, and it's looking really good. So I'll have more on that for the commissioners once we kind of get the WCCBI board updated. The other main thing I'm working on is the 911 radio system. Motorola is actually coming in on Wednesday. I've invited you all, meaning the commissioners, to hear their pitch on a new radio system that would connect with the state StarNet. We would be running off of the state StarNet system. Probably one of the most impactful and innovative things we could do for our emergency personnel in the county. So I hope you can come. I think it's either 10 or 10:30 on.
everyone's calendar, so yeah.
Excellent, good. And we're actually having Dominic, I think he's the head of all of Motorola in Pennsylvania, or certainly the sales side of things in Pennsylvania. So pretty guy coming to meet with us. And then there are a few littler things that I was going to mention. First of all, Youngsville TV asked me for a letter of support related to their rural broadband USDA grant, so I'll be writing a letter of support on that. 3 fire departments in the county more or less got dinged for not reporting something correctly related to their incidents on the Pennsylvania state fire system. And I looked into them, and it looks like there may have been some fault on both sides, but I'm going to be appealing, like on our letterhead, asking the fire commissioner to reconsider those grants. Because basically they said they're not, our 3 fire departments in our county are not eligible for grants due to basically not hitting a correct button. So I want to see if they can't fix that. Also, this is important. So are you familiar with the opportunity zones that the governor? Okay, so part of the last.
Well, I think I forwarded it, and you were like, we're already doing this.
Right. So it kind of came through our committee at CCAP. So the governor, through federal legislation, is allowed to make, I believe it's up to 300 qualified zones in the state of Pennsylvania, opportunity zones. So they have to be impoverished areas, basically, or like within 60% of it, I believe.
Did you send the pictures of the holes in my shoes?
No, I did not. But we are sending pictures of certain parts of the city of Warren.
So, okay. Well, that's even better.
I think that might leave more of an impression.
Well, when I'm down there, that's what I do. I pull my pockets out and then, can we get enough? Come on, here's something.
So, basically the process is that the municipality is kind of responsible for getting together a bid package, asking the governor to designate their zone as an opportunity zone. And so it's fully within the governor's ability to, I believe, appoint up to 25% of the eligible zones to this, and then 5% of the immediately contiguous zones. So that actually means pretty much the entirety of Warren County is eligible, but we will be competing against more impoverished areas such as like the city of Corey, which is in much worse shape. But the only application we've gotten coming from Warren County so far, and there are only a few more days left open, is the city of Warren. They put together a fantastic package. All I have to do is basically, as the chair of the commissioners, sign something that says I looked at it and we fully endorse it. So just letting you know that that'll be going out soon. The only other place that I thought might be a municipality that might want to look into this would be the Starbrick area in Colorado Township, just because the program basically, if you become an opportunity zone, will incentivize investment in the area because any capital gains made off of that property are either fully or at least partially exempt from taxation. So it's a pretty big deal if we can get any interest in it. So the cities is basically the Loringer building kind of area down by the river. That's what they're shooting for.
Yeah, it looked very interesting to me. Like,
Yeah.
very smart.
Yeah, yeah. I have not made much headway on the retirement issue, so I'll be bringing the retirement board recommendations back pretty much whenever I get together with Pam and chat through it all. That's it on project updates for me. Commissioner Morrison, anything from you?
I'm working on something with cooperative extension, but I'm not ready to present it yet.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to share was last week we had our first public meeting of the redevelopment task force, and it was the first meeting, so it was an organizational meeting and had full attendance. It was a very good meeting, a lot of really good discussion about it, we basically got chairs for all of the subcommittees related to it, and they're going to start meeting pretty soon, and we should have start putting together topics for discussion, development, and research for the group. So that was pretty fun.
Good. Okay, the next meeting is this Wednesday on the 11th. There are two proclamations that I would like to add to the agenda. One would be the County Commissioners Association, the National Association of Counties has put out a request for proclamations regarding the importance of county government. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to pass a proclamation kind of thanking our employees first of all, but also letting people know what it is that the county actually provides them so they understand what the taxpayers are, what their tax dollars are paying for. So that's one that I'd like to add to the agenda. This would be the NACO proclamation. And then a citizen approached me about a proclamation related to apraxia, which I believe is a speech disorder. And May 12th is the date that's the nationally recognized apraxia day, awareness day. So I asked if they could either make it to this upcoming meeting or the following one. So if it works in their schedule to come to the 11th, then I'd ask for it to be done on the 11th. If not, then I'll just bump it back 2 weeks. So whichever happens.
That sounds good.
Yep. Anything else that you want to add to the agenda, or does the agenda look good?
Looks fine with me.
So yeah, let's just move the Chautauqua County Executive up under like public comment so he doesn't have to sit through our meeting if he doesn't want to. Yeah. The notes looked excellent. Good job.
The who?
The minutes, the meeting minutes.
Oh. Now, do you foresee the meeting on Wednesday with everything that's on the agenda to go over an hour?
Yes.
So should we move it down here?
Are they?
I don't really think so. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I guess if you got 15, 20 minutes with the executive, that's going to eat it.
Well, I mean, that might not be that long. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 5 or 10 max. Just because I think all his intention is to come down and show support and have a short spiel.
Well, I don't know. Looking at the agenda, it looks more like a 45-minute one to me.
Okay. Yeah, whatever anybody, that's fine with me.
I mean, as long as he really is only like 15 minutes.
I can get the hook out.
Where you moving?
I'm
Down here
resisting
or
like
there?
a calling the kettle black kind of moment right now.
Right now, you're not moving. It's upstairs.
Okay. Anything else on the agenda?
So I'm waiting on 3 resolutions, 2 from you and 1 from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you could work with me on the apraxia one, that'd be great, because I couldn't find one.
Can I make a comment now?
Sure.
Is it lit, am I in line here? I approached you the last work session to support the background checks on all volunteer firemen in the county. Has there been any movement among the commissioners on that issue? You were thinking of a resolution, but you were gonna look into it.
Right.
Well, I would be more than happy to write a resolution in support, but I think that the question was Commissioner Kaplan wanted to look into it
I have not read it yet.
as a subject.
I think it's important that we have background checks on the volunteers for the protection of the residents of the county and the firemen that are very active right now for their own protection.
Anything else? Okay, department committee updates. Dan, you have something?
Yes, thanks, Commissioner. A couple of weeks ago, the Commissioners had adopted a resolution in support of the County Planning Department submitting a application to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for C2P2 for the, actually it's a two-piece project. One is a Parks and Recreation plan for the city, and then the second piece will be a comprehensive recreation and greenways plan for the county. I'm about completed with the online application. It is due Wednesday at 4 o'clock, but I need a couple of pieces of documentation from the commissioners in order to complete our application process. The first would be a letter from the commissioners authorizing the assistance of the planning department staff as we work through the planning processes, and any technical data that we may have to provide from a consultant that we bring on board. And then the second piece would be a letter committing the match money for our match money for the project. We had talked back some time ago about utilizing the Act 13 Greenway funding for this project, since it does fit the description of the uses of the funding. And I now have a proposal that both the city and city officials in the planning department view as being favorable. So I would need a letter committing our Greenway funds for the match side of that. So I don't have either of those with me right now, but we'll get those to you this afternoon. But I need your authorization on those two documents.
Okay. Any other department or committee updates?
Dan reminded me that's the other thing that I wanted to discuss at the meeting and forgot to put on the agenda. We were approved for our grant from DEP for the recycling project. That's a $48,000 grant from DEP. It was just awarded last week, so now contracts are being finalized with the consultant, Nestor Resources, who will be essentially working with the county in order to put together a plan to have a comprehensive recycling solution out of the warehouse for the county. The grant requires no cash match from the county. We are instead contributing Dan's time, my time, and Lori Burdick's time as the match for the funds. So, and we'd probably be working on it anyway, so it works out well for us. But I think that's going to be really exciting. Our hope is to work with them through the course of this year in order to have something put together that we can then move on at some point, next year.
That's big news. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I keep forgetting about that.
That's great.
Yep.
Okay. Any other updates? Commissioner schedules, anything of interest going on? We've got the Northwest Commission meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Meeting with Pennsylvania Wilds on Thursday.
Yep.
I'm touring the Warren Manor on Wednesday. Are either of you joining me for that?
I was planning on going, but I can't. Something's come up and I'm not going to be able to make it. I really wanted to go to that. Because that was something by invitation, right?
Yeah, they sent us an invitation for a hard hat tour last week. none of us were able to make it because it conflicted with something, I don't remember what. And so they called and asked if we could come over. I believe it's a multi-million-dollar project that they're doing, so
Oh.
definitely be worthwhile.
Yeah, I've just heard about it. I don't know the details. So are you going, so you're going to the PA Wild thing too?
Well, I'll be late, but yes.
Okay.
There's a United Funds luncheon at noon, and I really want to be there for the first 30 minutes, so.
Okay.
Because, free food. And then on Wednesday, I'll be gone all morning for a workforce development meeting.
Okay. Wednesday morning? I thought you were doing the Motorola thing.
Yeah, sorry. Friday morning, I will be gone
Okay.
the bulk of the workday for this workforce development meeting. Thanks. Okay, anything else?
Wednesday morning, there's a 9/11 meeting at Perkins.
Yep, I'll be there.
And that's to discuss the event, right? That's
Yes.
going on, or that goes on every year.
Yeah,
Mm.
and possible collaboration with our Public Safety Day.
Very good.
And that's Wednesday morning?
Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock.
So Ed and I both were invited, so we'll go to that.
I have lined up a speaker for the event.
Oh. One of the nice things about Ed is he is a getter in kind of guy.
There you go.
Major General Eric Weller.
Oh.
Good job, Larry.
Well. Okay. Well done. Okay, anything else? Good. Commissioner Morrison, we need to have an executive session here pretty quick about a couple of personnel issues, so if you could get with Pam and find a time when the three of us can get together. that'd be
I'm available after this if you want.
We've got the
I
feasibility.
mean, should it take, 15 minutes?
Yeah, yes, but we have the feasibility study in 15 minutes, so.
Well, right. I'm saying, can we conduct our executive session within 15 minutes?
Hopefully.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, so let's just do it now.
Okay, great. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you very much.